welcome to the Talon Outdoor Show. I'm Charlie.
I'm JD.
Biden calls me Steve.
Captain Paul Tire.
And I'm Grant. I think.
The fact that Biden calls you kind of disturbing.
Well, I mean, he saw me walking down the street, said I was Steve. I think that's what he's calling everybody now. Steve.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, if you don't know, we're talking about Jake Sullivan, who was his defense advisor,
National Security Advisor.
National Security advisor. It's in a room full of people. This guy's been with him for what, 2 decades, in one capacity or another, and he's like, "Hey, Steve, come in." Well, his name is Jake.
Whatever.
Bless his heart. Bless his heart.
Yeah, have y'all been watching? I mean, even people on that are part of Biden's old team talking about all the stuff that Trump has done lately. Like he just went to the Middle East and
he's marveling.
Came back with all these deals that guy. Now he's had 4 years to sit around and figure all this out. I mean, he already had 4 years to figure out how to be president, do all this stuff. Had a 4-year hiatus. The whole time was planning a comeback, right?
Intermission.
Yeah, had a little intermission. It's like, okay, all right, I'm gonna get my second win. Comes in and then just 150 executive orders.
I honestly think so. So here's my theory on all this: is that when he got elected the first time, it was such a shock to not only to us but to him as well, and they had nobody in place, so he had to go to the swamp creatures in D.C. and say, who do I appoint to these jobs? Because I don't know. I don't know these people. I don't know this. So he probably listened to some of the swamp creatures up there that need to be term limited, and they said, yeah, put this guy here, this guy here, this guy, and got bad advice and got just held up from one thing. It's not that I don't think he had some of this stuff planned on the first go round. That he wanted to do.
I don't think he was willing to go as radical. I mean, he did some radical stuff, but I don't think he was willing to go so far out in the left field as he has this time. This time he goes, I got nothing to lose.
This time he does not care about the political future or whatever else, and he's not listening. He learned who not to listen to. If he learned one thing in the first term is who not to listen to, and that's those people that get continually reelected for 30 and 40 years in a row.
And it's the deep state.
And make $160,000 a year and have millions.
Yeah. If we do one thing as a country to make this country better, and I will say this, and I'm getting off politics. If we need to have term limits, and I'm talking about from the dog catcher to the president, there needs to be term. There already are term limits on the president, but there's no term limits on congressmen, and there should be the same. And when you take a job as a top-level bureaucrat, you should not have job security.
I think the longer you're in there, the more likely it is that you become, and I don't know that it's maliciously corrupt, but you become corrupt. You become the longer you stay in office, the more part of the problem you become. Now, there are exceptions. Okay, there are exceptions, but as a general rule, and all you have to do is look at Congress and go, okay, what did they start out with? Like you said a minute ago, Paul, what did they start out with, and how much money do they have now? And this should be public service should be like community service. You should get into it. You could do it for the great betterment of society, and then move on and go back and be part of society again. Because I think the longer you stay in political office or even in high-ranking government offices, you tend to lose touch.
The way politics work in general, and this is I'm not necessarily talking about elected. If the way politics work is, I do a favor for you, you do a favor for me, and I do a favor for you, and then you do a favor for me, and we make a deal, and we hey, if you'll do this, I'll do that, and eventually one side or the other is going to owe the other one something.
Yeah.
So if you're not in place long enough in an office like senator, and you're not on, the deals in Congress are not made on the voting floor. They're made in the back rooms, in the committees, in the whatever else. Yeah,
it's at every level of government that happens.
Yeah,
at the highest levels and at the most local.
Even
level,
in Florida, where it's against the law.
Absolutely, it goes on all
Why
the time.
do you think the Silver Slipper had back doors?
Yeah.
You said the old stuff.
I know why the Silver Slipper had back doors back in the day when I went up there, because I said you could slip out the back if things got tight. You know what I mean?
There's a certain judge I saw coming out of there a few times.
Listen, I mean, if you go into office and you're fresh face, go into office, get up there. The first thing they do is there's all this staff and people. and a former congressman, they go into consulting, and then they lobby, and you've got all these lobbyists coming in telling you stuff, and really most of the bills are written by lobbyists. I mean, they come in and go, hey, we're going to help you put this thing together. And it's kind of scary but here's the thing is you go out and you get elected. I want to do some good, and you've got 2 or 3 things you really want to work on. I want to go and make a difference. You don't know anything about all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So where do you get your opinions from, and how do you? Well, people come in and lobby you, and they tell you this is what you should think, and here's why.
They throw money around,
and then you look at it and size it up, and then decide that this is how I feel about this, and I'm gonna get on this side or that side, and a lot of it is swinging a deal. If I support this that I don't really have an opinion on, I mean, I'm gonna vote for this, but then it's the political parties really. Well, you run as a Republican, you run as a Democrat, you're already locked into certain opinions. You can make a difference for your district or your area, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of mess. I mean, right now, I'm a DeSantis supporter. I am a firm DeSantis supporter. I like the man. I like what he's done. I like what he stands for. I'm not, and I know people hate property taxes, but there's this thing. They want to try to get rid of property taxes. Well, I want to see the plan. I want to see the plan. Show me the plan. I'll support it if you show me the plan. And the plan needs to tell me where the money's coming from to support the fire department and the sheriff's office and the police department and the schools and everything else. So if you want to take away property taxes, where are you going to get the money? And there's only 2 places I think you can get it from, and that is income tax, which we don't have, and it's not in our Constitution, and sales tax. And so if you're going to raise sales taxes, okay, fine. Sales taxes are paid by everybody. So the people who are on government assistance are going to pay sales tax.
Exactly.
Which is
the bad part about people that are arguing to keep sales tax or get rid of sales tax and keep property tax, because that's the other argument.
Mm-hmm. That's the problem.
So
if you do that, then only people who pay property taxes should vote.
Right. Well, I agree, but anyway, that would be fair. That would be the fair way, because otherwise it's taxation without representation.
But that's not realistically going to happen. But
my point
doing away with one tax
is
or others.
The other side of that is if the state took away sales tax and said, okay, no state sales tax. Well, counties can levy sales tax in their county, because the state tax rate right now is 6%, but Leon County's 7.5%. Some counties have 7%. So I don't think that if you take money, the counties are just going to keep it right where it's at for the most part. They're just going to,
Well, here's the thing: is counties don't get the majority of their funding from sales tax.
They get it
comes from property tax.
That's right.
And so and in the counties, okay, so like the city of Tallahassee's always had a hard time raising enough money off of the local sales tax because FSU doesn't pay it. And state government doesn't pay it, and a large part of the city of Tallahassee is occupied by huge swaths of government entities, and they don't pay sales tax. So Tallahassee has a utility company where they gouge people on money there. And so, you can argue the point one way or the other, but if they didn't have a utility company, they have a really hard time running their government, especially at the enormous salaries.
The enormity that they do, yes.
Yeah, and so the same, and I'm not going to say there's not an argument for reducing salaries at local levels at some degree. It's gotten a little out of hand, particularly in Leon County. But the fact is that if you do away with the proportion of the county governments and the local governments' property tax, and you have to make it up somehow. And sales tax is, it makes it more fair. It makes it puts a larger burden on poor people to pay a bigger share, which I'm fine with. Okay, because it will limit consumption.
Everybody pays the same amount. Whatever you buy, you said 10%
it's the same
or whatever
amount.
it is.
The whole concept, if you buy property, I go buy a piece of real property. I got to pay sales tax on it when I buy it,
right.
dock stamps and all the others. And now you're going to tax me for the rest of my life as I own this property every year.
You never truly
own your home.
You never truly own your property, your own home. You never truly own it because
that to me is immoral.
The flip side, if you exempted property tax for residents of Florida, I'd be fine. But now you got these people from all over the world and all over the country that own property in Florida.
They're talking about your homestead. Right. That's what they're talking about getting rid of. Then you got property tax you can pay on a vacation home. My office, I own that.
All I want to do is see the plan, man. Show me the plan, describe it, quit talking about it, show me the plan, and then I'll back it. But I want to know where the money's coming from next. We'll see y'all in just a minute. And we're back. And we're going to get off of taxes and politics.
Don't get me
that?
started.
Yeah, because I said a curse word.
I want
Tell
to
me how
talk
much your
about.
taxes
I want
are.
to talk about Fred's aversion to Oriental people celebrating the birth of their child.
What's wrong with that?
Apparently, y'all got the video I sent the other night, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Fred,
Oh,
do you not
jeez.
remember? Oh man, I'm sitting around. I'm sitting around watching TV at night, scrolling through I don't know TikTok, Facebook, something, and this video popped up, and I went, "What was that?" And these two, y'all saw it, but I'll describe it. These two
don't
Oriental
describe
folks
that.
were, oh yeah, and
Oh, he's gagging.
and
He's
showed,
got one.
showed that they said, "Oh, we're having a baby. It's positive." And the guy picked up this dog and held it up in the air, and he was hold his mouth open, and the dog pooped right in his mouth.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I sent that, and I didn't realize what time it was. And we'll quit talking about the video now, Fred. I'm sorry.
Like, who?
Well, I sent that thing out, and I didn't realize what time it was. Past JD's bedtime, and I'm like, "Oh crap!" And I showed it to my wife, and we were both literally my wife and I, who have strong constitutions, were gagging.
It's
And,
disgusting.
And I sent, and Fred comes back with this long text, basically calling me all kinds of names, and
He sure did.
Well, we can pull it up.
I
and-
threw up my dinner in the pond, and I all this kind of
It
stuff.
was awful. I mean,
Imagine being asleep and getting
And
this
then,
and going,
then I realized, and
yeah.
I'm like, so I sent Fred a text back, and I'm like, "Hey, I didn't realize it's past JD's bedtime. Don't respond on the group. Respond directly to me." And he responded on the group. I'm like, "Yeah, JD's fuming right now." So,
Yeah,
Was it this one?
yeah. Don't show
I
that.
never watched it.
yeah,
I ain't watching it now.
so my wife's been in Washington D.C. all week. She's up
Why
there
are there tears in your eyes?
what happened?
because
you
that's
miss
what
his
happens
wife
when
that
you start
much?
wanting to yak.
Poor guy.
And so it's,
feet are
I'm
turned
laying
red.
around at night, and I'm watching what I want to watch on TV. I'm drinking what I want. I'm smoking a cigar, just enjoying my evening by myself.
I'm sorry.
And then I get this video, and I'm like, "What the hell is he sending
I did feel
to
bad.
me in the middle of the night?" And I'm like, and I look at it, and I'm like, "I don't see it. I mean, this is stupid."
Yeah, you
Yeah,
said
yeah.
I don't get it. Why'd you send me this? I'm
And
like, okay.
then he's like, "Watch it again."
Watch it again.
And I'm like, "Oh my god!" And I just went. I mean, I had to put my cigar out.
Yeah.
I had to go and I had to start drinking milk. I mean,
Well,
it was awful.
if you hang out in this crowd, you have to have
So,
a strong constitution.
So I'm walking out of court Friday morning, and I'd been up to state attorney's office, and the bailiff is talking about this different public defender that apparently went to trial last week and was taking her shoes off in the trial under the table, and she had these disgusting looking feet. And so I tell the story about the
Crusty pinky toe.
the dog, and then she starts describing the feet, and I start heaving right there at the bailiff's unit, walking out of the courthouse because she's talking about these feet. Now I don't want to get into the description because it was as bad as that video.
Yeah, please don't.
And I'm never if I see what's going to happen now, I'm gonna walk into court. That public defender, I know her. I'm gonna see her there. I'm gonna start going.
You wouldn't have made a very good cop, Fred. There's too much stuff you got to go out and
you just
see
stay-
and do
yeah.
and
You've
participate
been-
in. And
throwing up every day.
It's just
Just-
disgusting things that bother me.
I don't know how you did it with your aversion to smell.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
because you go out that somebody been sitting around for a while after they've passed, and just I won't get into it, but because I know the effect it'll have.
Yeah.
But I just got
I could detect it from a long ways off because
when you find somebody from that's lost in the woods from the helicopter says he's over there. Yeah, I know.
oh yeah,
well,
I'm downwind about
why ain't you-
500 yards.
Are you
I
heading
know.
that way? Well, I'm hoping the guy on the other side finds him first because I don't want to.
Don't
I
they
mean-
make some stuff they put on your nose? And
Vicks Vapor Rub works great.
Yeah,
it does good.
I kept some in my car.
I'll tell you.
Take old Vicks Vapor Rub and just stuff it up in your nose and everything. So that's
Well, see, I grew up in a meat processing facility. My papa and my daddy were both in the meat
handle
business.
that.
And so I was used to seeing stuff cut up, old stuff, guts, things like that. But when I got into law enforcement, I saw a whole different side of it.
The human stuff, not the livestock.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It was not in the and then when you go to your first autopsy, it's a little weird because my first autopsy was a guy that was my age, same color hair. When I had hair. And he was my size and general
Should have
build.
stolen his driver's license. You could.
And no, I don't.
go do some crime.
No, because I was over 21 by then. I didn't need nobody else's. And
go do some fraud. He might have had great credit. You never know.
You never know.
I don't think he did, based on the history
Could
there.
have had like a second wife.
But watching that thing, I felt like I was watching somebody cut me up. And I'm like, that's just a weird. So that's exactly what it would look like if I was in there. And that's kind of a weird thing, but I'm glad I don't have to do any of that no more.
So, like, how do you feel about when someone passes away and they may have like an open casket? Something does that strike you at all?
I always wait for him to sit up. You know.
No. I mean, it's like when it's like I know what's been done to them, and I get all that, and I don't. I in my mind it's there, but that's not them. Yeah. That's not them. That's just what's left that you show people, but that's not them. I mean, it's the thing is the for all the first responders and the military veterans out there, and whether it be law enforcement or EMS or doctors, nurses, hey, I know what y'all that's. Yeah, there's a lot of trauma in this world. There is. So. Did you figured out how to use your phone to write on, JD?
I don't know what he's doing.
What are you doodling?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty neat. My phone don't do that. It's not an iPhone.
No, it's not.
No, we don't do all that crazy iPhone stuff. That's a cult.
So, a cult?
Well, who's got iPhone in here?
I got iPhone.
Do you know the secret password? Do you need a secret handshake and everything to get in? Is that?
Well, it's
I don't know, man. That stuff's too complicated. I tried to go Apple one time, but I couldn't figure. It was just too complicated.
Once you go Apple, you never go back.
Figure it out once
Yeah. That's true. I just could no. I went that way. I even got a MacBook Pro, and I still have it. I don't use it very often. It's if I need to do certain things, I have the software on there. Otherwise, it sits in a drawer at the house. I can't do iPhones. There's people out there going, "What are you talking about? It's so easy." And y'all thinking the same thing, but I'm Android.
No, we switched over from.
It's kind of like analog and digital. I'm analog. I'm like simple stuff.
Man, the iPhone's got it.
Have you seen the new AI? My phone just got updated, and it's got this AI artwork deal where you go in and you tell it, draw me a picture of a Spartan warrior. I did this in that. Draw me a picture of a Spartan warrior or a Spartan helmet with a Talon logo on it, and and it sends you back artwork.
Really?
I mean, that is cool. That is cool.
Does your iPhone do that, Fred?
No, it doesn't.
I'm sure it probably
I just got
does.
a newest iPhone. It don't do that.
You just got to pay for it.
Oh.
It just popped up, and I started just because you got to be careful what you ask for. I told y'all a story.
As in life, yes.
I told y'all I told y'all the story about when I drew our targets that time, right?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah. Be careful when you're googling models for. I'm upstairs
Muscular
at my house.
men.
I'm looking for a silhouette of some muscular guy, that threatening looking guy, and I'm like, okay, I need to take Photoshop, and I need to outline this target, and then I'm gonna put shapes on it so we can shoot at it. And I'm like, well, I can't find what I'm looking for, and I said, okay, well, I'm just going. So I just Googled, all right, muscular man. Well, I didn't know what I was asking for. But apparently Google sent me all kinds of stuff, and my mother-in-law's at the house, and I'm upstairs at my old house out in Chairs, and I hear her walking up the stairs, but she didn't come all the way up the stairs. She got about halfway where she could see over the second floor through the rail there, and she stopped, and all of a sudden she starts tiptoeing back downstairs, and I realized that I had the big screen on the wall up there where I was, and I all these pictures up there, and I was like, no, that's not. But I didn't say nothing. I think to this day she probably still wonders. But if you shoot the Talon target, one of the Talon targets we got down there is a modified outline of Stone Cold. And you'll see it if you know what you're looking at. But that was one of those. And I told my wife about it, and she laughed. And I said, we might not have to tell her. She goes, no, don't tell her.
So she's walking up and she's looking at your screen, and you got like a skinless or a hairless dude.
I got a bunch of grown bodybuilder types and all
wearing
that
like a
stuff
Kenyan brief, and striking
underwear models and all
of
kinds of crap up there. And I'm trying to, I'm looking for the outline so I can get the arms and so ended up Stone Cold had that pose with the bald head and the.
I mean, the only thing it would have been better if you'd had like Village People songs played in the background.
Oh no! You should see one of my employees played
ABBA, Dancing Queen.
Yeah, there you go.
One of my employees, at one of my security company employees, I said, "Hey, I need you to put your uniform on, stand in front of one of our trucks, and send me a picture so I can put it on our Facebook thing." He was joking. He had already taken. So he went out there with shorts and cowboy boots on, a cowboy hat, and propped his foot up on the front tire and took a picture and sent it to me as a joke. Well, I then took the Village People and I cut them out and put them, and I put him in with the Village People and sent it back to him. I said, "Good, I found my picture." That was funny. So, you take an alpha male retired cop who carries a gun for a living. You do that to him.
I was going to volunteer to be that friend that if something were to happen to you in an emergency, that I would be the one to go and erase your search history on your internet thing. I don't know that I even want to be that close to your computer and see what
that friend of mine
maybe
has
accidentally. I mean, it's just
that friend of mine has instructions to burn mine in the backyard if something ever happens.
All right, we'll be right back. And we're back. So yeah, the Endless Summer Blast is coming up, and way over in October in Dothan, the big shooting match they do every year. That sucker's full. I mean, they're pre-registered, filled up, done already. It's amazing.
How many people is that? You reckon?
There's over 100.
Wow.
How many?
Already full. About to do another one.
Yeah. How many? We had the SIG match out here in Midway the other weekend. They had a bunch of people show up.
They had 120-ish.
Really?
Wow. Well, if you're into competition shooting, you want to be. If you want to be, I know at our Dothan range, Drew and Jerry and those guys, they're putting together some. If you just call the range and talk to Jerry, or go to the Facebook, or just call the shop and say you want to talk to Jerry about getting into competition shooting. He and Frank are managers up there. Are both. They do that on the weekends. I know they've been traveling. Frank's done a lot of traveling and shooting at state level matches and different things like that. So they can put together some stuff, help get you into it. Gear, learn how to run the matches, the whole 9 yards. It's pretty cool. Gun sales are picking up in Dothan, which is a good thing. Lord knows the silencers are selling fast. I mean, turnaround the other day, we had somebody here in Midway walked in, long-term client friend of ours. He had about 9 cans on the counter, and I said, "How long did that take?" He goes, "About a week."
A week?
And it's crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure.
Just
they'll what the ATF does sometimes when you have multiple NFA items in process at once, they will batch them. They will put them. They will see your name on multiple things, and they were doing that way before the wait times or the speed up. Before this big speed up that we had, they were doing batching where you'd have people who've been in queue for a year on whatever suppressor they started a year ago, and then they bought one 12 days ago, and they'd get all their tax stamps back at one time in a big batch.
The way you do that is you just call the ATF up and go, "Batch, please."
I tell you, those silencers have opened up a whole new world of
enjoyment of shooting.
Yeah,
because that's the one big the thing I just didn't care for. I like to shoot, but now I'm so spoiled. I don't like to shoot unless it's suppressed.
Yeah,
if it's a long gun, it needs a can on it. If you can swing the cash, if you can figure out how to make it happen, and you're not concerned with your background, then it is absolutely the way to go.
Well, you can. We have .22 caliber suppressors here in the store right now. We've got some in stock. That the suppressor itself is $300. So $300 plus sales tax, and then $200. So we just sold one yesterday to a guy. It was $525. He's out the door, and he's got a suppressor we'll screw on the end of any threaded barrel 10-22 or 22 long rifle. Is for rimfire 22 long rifle. It's not for a 223 or a centerfire gun, but it'll basically put a suppressor on any 22 you own that's got the threaded barrel on it. So
JD, what happens if you go and buy a fuel filter online and put it on your gun and get caught with it?
You in trouble.
10 years in prison, basically.
You're in trouble.
Yeah.
So, there's all kinds of ways you can do that, but there are definitely consequences. The chances of getting caught out hunting critters at night on your farm is pretty slim.
I don't know. The one time, one of the very few times I ever encountered law enforcement and was in the wrong, I was rabbit hunting when I was about 13 years old, and the game warden saw my light shining as he was driving down the highway and comes down there to the pasture where I was out walking around with one of those old flashlights that had the big 6-volt heavy batteries that the little lantern screwed on top of. I had me one of them and my 22 single shot, and I'm out rabbit hunting, and he saw the light from the highway half a mile away.
He thought
he had him some deer hunters out there, somebody night hunting, and it was me shooting rabbits. And then he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm rabbit hunting." He goes, "Oh, okay."
You sure you didn't say I'm
It's
rabbit?
against the law.
Believe
it or not, that is against the law.
To hunt rabbit?
To hunt rabbit at night.
Yeah.
Is against the law. I had no idea. I was like
thought
13.
That's what you were supposed to hunt.
I was like 13 years old, and I had no idea. And he goes, "Well, technically, you're night hunting with a light and
you can hunt a hog at night.
Well, if you're driving around a field at night in your truck drinking, and you jump out with a flashlight and a 380 Ruger LCP and shoot a rabbit in the eye from 30 yards,
you didn't jump out of the truck. You were sitting in the truck and hung it out the window. I witnessed that. Statute of limitations is up.
And we're back. Y'all don't know what you're missing on the breaks, man. I'll tell you what.
You're not going to see that one either.
We can't play it.
That's going straight to the trash bin on the computer here.
We'll keep it for posterity's sake. I ever need anything on Fred or
just make sure I'm dead before that got played.
Pretty soon we get in the new building. We could have an audience. Just have a paid admission.
I don't know. That's a good idea.
You'd have to be.
Oh, we got 2 couches over there. We've had guests come in here before and just sit over there and shake their head.
You'd have to be like over 40 to watch.
I hadn't laughed that hard in a while.
That was funny.
And the thing is it's not that. I mean, you have to have standards, which is a stretch for us sometimes.
There were no standards.
And no standards. But we did bring up. It was fun because towards the end of that break, we started talking about AI. And it's getting harder and harder.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we called all down the road one time on TikTok about this, but just missed something for a few minutes. But I love watching that stuff because they got there's one of them now that they've got the AI babies talking
that's all
like,
over.
And that's kind of funny. But I mean, I will tell you that it's getting harder and harder to tell what's real and what's not. You have to actually look at something a couple times.
I've seen some people say that give it 10 years, if that. Right,
and you won't be able to tell.
Oh no, you're talking 2, 3.
Right, exactly. It's accelerating, right, and it's going to quickly get to the point in the law enforcement world, in the legal world, where there's like absolutely nothing that you can admit to court because like nobody knows if this is real, this is not real. How do we know? Like this, and so
that's why you don't have to bring back medieval torture.
Throw him in the stocks.
Put him in the stocks, Iron Maiden, and turn the heat up or the bronze bull or whatever, and they'll admit to it eventually, maybe.
Be the Salem AI trials. Is this real or is it Memorex? It's
Yeah, I mean that's scary. I mean there are already cases out there where perverts are taking the people and simulated sexual
horrible things.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you get into there's things like there are illegal images. We talk about young people. I don't get into all that. But it's simulated versus real, and there's a lot of folks that participate in that type of pornography and trafficking and that, and they go to jail a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is easy to track those images. I mean, you can if an image child porn image is trafficked on the internet, that is being monitored. Most of those known images are tracked with an IP address or an image. I forget the
individual code.
Yeah, there's
a GUID, GUID, Global Unique Identification
There you go.
Number.
And it's attached to, and is it?
You have a web crawler and it attaches to contraband going from point A to point B over the cyberspace, and it hits if there's a known. See, every file. If you take a picture with your camera, you now have a file, an internet file with a global unique identifying number. FBI has a database full of contraband images. Most of them they know about because every time they get it, it goes into the database. So every time they seize one of those images, that goes to the FBI and goes to the database. The web crawler tacks on, if it searches the internet, crawls, that's why they call it a web crawler. It crawls around the internet and it seizes on one of those contraband images going from point A to point B, follows it to point B, and the point B is a known IP address. And what happens there is law enforcement, because like sheriff's department, they have a guy that does nothing but that. That's what he does. He gets on that web crawler and follows that stuff around. And then they go get a search warrant for the IP address.
Come get all your electronic devices.
Yep, come see, and there it is.
Yeah.
And every one of them every image, every movie is a separate crime. If you have images, more than 10 images, or more than 10 movies, I guess, whatever it is, that bumps it up from a third degree to a second degree felony. And I mean, I've represented folks that have scored 100 years on the score sheet for possession, and that stuff is sick. It is not what you think it is. It is nasty. I mean, nobody should. It is that.
Terrible. I supervised that unit for a while when I was over violent crimes, and the sheriff's office employees, which we are very familiar with. Their job was they had to review all of those to make sure. And I had to sit there where we're getting a warrant, we're doing this, and after a few minutes, I'm like, I'll sign off on it. You just bring me the paperwork. I'm not watching this. I'm not,
like Grant was saying.
No,
I have seen enough to go load my pistol.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is you show up and it's people. I mean, it's everything from school officials to business people to just pure old. I don't know if I can say scrote bag or not, but he's just a piece of dirt, in the community. And it could be people from all walks of life, and 9 times out of 10, you'd go in there and you'd grab their computer, and they'd tell you, I did that, and they don't even try to hide it because it's there. And sometimes I've seen it be someone's child on their parents' computer, and and then there would be some old granddad or something. It blows my mind the people that are involved in that. That's just terrible. I mean, that's nasty. But the fact is that stuff is easy to catch, and we're talking about it on the show, and you don't be tempted. I mean, if you look at that mess, you're a terrible person. I don't want you listening to this show, but that's just you're gonna get caught.
Well, it's not just that; it's other stuff that is being sent out. If you put it on the internet and it's illegal.
You have worked hard at that.
Yeah, you've worked hard at it, but you send an email, soliciting illegal stuff. You're crazy if you're using a computer to do any of that because they're gonna eventually catch up to you.
Well, see, now the problem is we go back to AI and AI images, and you just tell the computer what you want to see,
right?
And there it is. And I don't know if there's safeguards on that or if there's some way for it that's one thing I ain't going to try to find out. Yeah. But I'm curious to know, but I ain't going to find out. And don't call me if you know, because that tells me something about you. So, now I've Googled things in the past about I wanted to know how to build a detonator. I wanted to know how to do these things because I was on a SWAT team. And I'm in law enforcement, and I mean, we sit around with the robbery task force, and we talk about how to get away with a perfect bank robbery or the perfect crime. When I was in the financial crimes unit, we would sit around and talk about how would we, okay, we caught these guys, how could we get away with it? And that's so we can figure out how to catch the next one, what to look for. I mean, you're looking for some, if I was going to break into a house, how would I do it? But we talk about those things in theory, and you learn a lot. and that's how you catch bad guys.
What's crazy
there's
is
some things I don't want to know how to do.
But some of the Google search engine stuff though is crazy because you can type in how to build a bomb or how to build a detonator or how to do this, and it'll finish the sentence for you essentially.
Yeah.
And
that's in
you
your
don't even
search history.
You don't in your search history. But you go in there and you go, I want to buy a such and such a gun, and it won't finish any. There are other stuff that's restricted. That's buying a gun would be a perfectly legal activity as long as you're not prohibited in some fashion or another. So they monitor and cut off some things and allow some others.
Okay, so I'm gonna read you my search history off Google.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay. Okay, so the top 10. How long can quail eggs sit before they have to go into an incubator? All right, 5 to 7 days. Belfry Security, which is the app that we use to track our security company. Jackson County Property Appraiser, because I wanted to know who owned a piece of property. FedEx tracking number. The pod agency, Tallahassee, I wanted to know where their address was of my sister-in-law's company.
You said pod, not pot.
POD. And I was downtown hub, and they got a satellite office, and I was just curious. Filligan VTuber. Apparently that's Matt said something on one of his videos. I want to know what that was. Opus Clip, which is what we use for our editing for TikTok. Does Flex Seal leach gases while curing? Because I sprayed Flex Seal sealant inside an incubator, and I wanted to know. 4N for an AR-15, BCG rifle parts, Mullion plant, which is I want to know if security training, Division of Corporations, tire company, security company, JD 40, John Deere 40 horsepower. What's the incubation period on a Bob White quail? Because apparently I didn't get it.
You didn't remember it
on the first.
Didn't remember it from the first time.
That's a peek into my Google search. That's where my brain is.
Yeah.
If you Google the term douche flute,
Let me have your phone, Fred.
What?
it comes back as sop choppy word for a vape.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll be right back. And we're back. So before we get on to fishing, right? We're segment 4, right?
Yes, sir.
Are we? Yeah, we just watched JD brought up the SNL skit about the Bill of Rights, and we were watching it. It's funny. It's really funny.
That's one of the best Saturday Night Live skits. And I used to be a huge fan of Saturday Night Live, but it's gone downhill in the last 20 years, I guess. That's one of the better skits. That guy's hilarious. Walter Goggins. If you're not familiar, he is super funny. He's from Atlanta, Georgia.
Is it really?
Yeah. But it's a good skit about the Bill of Rights.
So if you look at the 10 Bill of Rights in order, obviously the first one was freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion. That's in the First Amendment. What's that?
What are the other two?
Well, then
Press.
Go ahead, Mr. Constitutional Lawyer. Go ahead.
And the right to petition your government
to redress.
For redress.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you got to think in terms of these people just fought a war to get away from
tyranny.
Tyranny and a king and all this crazy stuff. And so, but then they said, okay, we want to be able to do that stuff. That is first and foremost on their mind. And then the next one was we want to be able to defend ourselves and defend those rights. So they put guns. Google SNL Bill of Rights skit, and then look at the most recent one. There's some old ones, but that's funny.
Yeah.
But it was to say, okay, we're going to say and do all that. We want all these rights, and then we want the ability to defend that. All right, and then something that means absolutely nothing in these days until things get really bad. The third thing on their mind, and it was important then, was a quartering of soldiers in your home. They just can't come in.
There's never been a case decided on that issue.
And then, really, yeah, because it just doesn't happen. And then when it got further down, search and arrest, rights in criminal cases, right to a fair trial, rights in civil cases, bail, fines, and punishment. So you get all the way down in there, and those were the dealing with the government arresting you, charging you, giving you a fair trial. That was the bulk of the Bill of Rights. But initially, it was you have the right to say and do things, and then you have the right to back it up with with guns.
Guns.
So tell me that wasn't what this country was founded on.
So do these
You know?
illegal aliens, do they have the right to due process? They're here illegally, but do they have the right? Isn't that
They have
what's
a
in-
due process right, but you got to understand what that is. And it's not the same as the right you would have if you were charged, say, with illegal fishing. And you have a right to a jury trial. They don't have a right to that. They have a right to an administrative hearing on an expedited basis, which this guy that's down in, what is it, El Salvador or whatever, he's already had his due
You talking
process.
about the
right?
Maryland, the father from Maryland?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, you don't hear as much about him
Yeah, you haven't heard-
because
but-
everybody's
yeah,
starting to figure out what he's really about.
Yeah.
Be MSD.
Here's
Maryland
here's
man.
our poster child for the left.
Yeah.
Wait, ooh,
I saw a funny.
maybe
it
we should have
said,
chosen better.
Said we should rename the AR-15 platform rifles the MS-13 platform rifle. 'Cause Democrats wouldn't be against it anymore.
They certainly wouldn't try to ban it from the country.
That's right.
So, yeah, I got that same.
Yeah, you shared it with me, I think. Or
No,
the
I
same
think
guy shared it with
same
both
guy
of us.
shared it with both of us, yeah.
Just we engrave certain guns in certain ways, not everything, but I'll go in there and I'll put on your AR-15. I identify as a musket,
Yep.
or as a musket. Yeah, there you go.
So, anybody following the Diddy trial?
No.
So,
I want to know, did he do it?
yeah,
Diddy did it. I promise you Diddy did it.
yeah, he did it, but apparently he would have like these white parties where you have to go to a party dressed all in white, and all these celebrities wanted to be dressed in and show up at these parties. And when a white party was in, that's when when it ended. That's when the freak out would happen, and all the celebrities would supposedly leave. I don't know about you, but if a rapper invites me to a party where there's going to be a bunch of celebrities and all of them are wearing white, and I got to wear white to go to a rapper party, I'm probably not going to that party.
I'm probably not going anyway, but there's that.
I mean, that's weird. You got to.
Man,
You ever had a
everything-
party at your
every-
house where you had to, everybody had to dress in white?
No, everything.
I don't
about
go to
that
black
guy's-
tie events because I don't dress like that. You want me to go? You invite me to your wedding and say, well, you got to dress up. I'm gonna go. Well, I ain't coming. I don't do that no more. Anyway, we need to segue into fishing before we run out of time.
Tell me about the white fish.
Well, the
White bass.
white bass.
There you go.
Caught one of them this week.
Did you?
Out there on the striper hole out in front of Spring Creek. But, man, the mayflies are just started this week, finally.
Nice.
Man,
middle of
start, yeah, I know. They usually start, well, it's they're called mayflies, but usually start a little bit earlier, the end of April. But this year it seems like they're starting later. But brim starting to bed. Not seeing a lot up shallow, though, JD. This year has been very weird on the brim. Usually you see them up shallow first, but I'm finding them out in 8, 9, 10 foot of water.
Really?
More than I'm finding them up shallow. I've never
With this
seen that
heat wave
before.
coming, you think that's going to change? Or?
Yeah, I think it's going to bring some in. I think they like that warmer water. So we're going. But I would have thought with this full moon, I would have seen a lot more brim on the bed shallow.
Yeah,
And I just
Tater and her friend boy went one day this week to Lake McBride and fishing off the dock, and they were catching a bunch of big old bluegill, and they were going to keep them. And I said, yeah, it's getting dark. You need to come home. And they ended up throwing them back. But anyway, I said, yeah. Take them to Nana. She likes them fried brim.
Yeah.
But, they caught a bunch of big old brim off the dock there.
Yeah, I think your son told me they were bedding out there last
brim?
couple weeks ago. Yep.
Okay.
But they're just kind of starting up there on the lake, and that mayflies are hatching now, so that's going to pull up a lot of fish shallow. Usually when the brim are bedding the mayfly, and it's about the same timing. But I was out this morning, caught some. They're starting to hit frogs.
They're
Caught some
on the
bass.
top?
Yep. Caught some
Lily
this morning.
pads?
Yep. Exactly over lily pads.
Just drag it over the lily pad?
Using that spro makes a frog with the tails are attached to it.
Yeah.
And when you reel, it's kind of like a horny toad, but it's a hollow body frog. And I was throwing that. You can just cover a lot of water with it, and it comes through the pads real well. And man, I had a couple big blow-ups on that today. So that the top water bite's really starting to pick up for sure.
And that'll go till when?
Oh, September.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, as long as that water's warm enough, they'll
Yep.
be laying under the shade of them lily pads, waiting on something to come by.
That's right. Well, I'm looking. And as these brims start moving in bed, that'll cause some more shellcracker to bed too. So
So you better off in the
This weekend
morning or
with-
evening? Or?
morning and evening. Right now, I'd fish the morning and the evening. because it's so hot in the middle of the day. There ain't no need being out there when it's that hot.
No.
But in the mornings it'd be great. Like today, it was good. It was still pleasant. I got off the water about 10:15. It was nice out there this morning.
So,
yeah, it's going to be warm in the middle of the day, though.
And this weekend we're in the
it's
mid-90s,
mid-90s.
95.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hot.
Yeah, I got to get Speedo out.
Yep, it's time.
Oh God.
Man, I didn't want I'm sending you some more videos.
Yep.
I wanted to mention
my train of
something.
thought.
It's completely off the subject of fishing, but so I went to my daughter that's graduating from high school here next week. I went to their convocation the other night at the school.
Baccalaureate.
Yeah, that's what we used to call baccalaureate, but they call it something different now. But anyway, it's where they give out the academic awards and announce the kids that have got scholarships and all this stuff. And there's 2 kids in the senior class of Childs High School this year that going to West Point.
Wow.
Now, that's got to be highly unusual for 2 kids in the same class,
Yeah, you don't
same
see that too
school,
often. Yeah.
going to West
Wow.
Point. I was so proud of them. One of the little girl that got it was a girl and a guy, and the young man, it was apparently my daughter said he shoots Olympic pistol. 22 pistol, so that's his his thing outside of school, and of course their grade GPAs were off the chart. The girl, she played tennis and had won some. Her name's Lillian Zhang, and she had won some state level tennis matches or whatever in high school. So she's obviously a great athlete, but she scored a perfect score on the SAT test.
Perfect. Wow.
Perfect score. No, did not miss a single question on the SAT test, and she is going to West Point, and that's just, to me, was like, holy cow, unbelievable.
That that's good. That's what we want.
Yeah,
That's
kind of why I brought it up, because our recruiting numbers for the military stuff, people going into the military during the Biden administration had just
went
in the tank, and now they're getting they're getting these record numbers of kids wanting to serve their country. And, that is a leadership thing. You can say whatever you want to. That is a leadership thing.
I want the best and the brightest protecting the country.
You're absolutely right. I'd rather have the smartest general than the smartest doctor.
Yeah.
Because at least maybe they're smart enough to keep us out of something.
Yeah.
And,
I remember arresting one of Tallahassee's best and brightest one time for running a credit card fraud ring. But it happens.
boy, just put a
He can use
damper
that
on
English
everything.
or something.
I'm just saying, just because you're smart doesn't mean you're good.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That just means you're smart.
Yeah, but I was just absolutely blown away by the fact that there's 2 of those kids going to West Point.
Yeah,
so
that's
good on
awesome.
them. Congratulations.
Yeah, good job, guys.
That's awesome.
Anyway,
Just stay out of trouble.
stay
See y'all next time.